Welcome to this explainer. Today we're diving into a genuinely game-changing framework that completely rethinks how we understand value, business, and honestly, why we buy the things we buy. We're going to unpack the core concepts from the groundbreaking book, The Experience Economy by B. Joseph Pine II and James H. Gilmore. If you've ever wondered why certain brands command massive loyalty and premium prices, while others just struggle to avoid being another face in the crowd, you're in the perfect place.
Let's kick things off with a super relatable question. Why on earth are you willing to pay $6 for a cup of coffee? Seriously, think about it for a second. The raw beans in that cup cost mere pennies. So how does a handful of beans suddenly transform into a $6 purchase? Well, it isn't just inflation. The value completely changes based on the presentation and the interaction. You aren't just buying caffeine, you're buying the ambiance, the barista's friendly greeting, the indie playlist in the background, the rich scent in the air. You're buying a moment. And that brilliantly captures the exact economic shift we're exploring today.
So here's our roadmap for today. 1. Welcome to the experience. 2. The 4 economic offerings. 3. The 4 experience realms. And 4. Customization and customer sacrifice.
All right, Section 1. Welcome to the experience and the shift away from commoditization.
To really get where the economy is heading, we've got to look at what we're leaving behind, which is a persistent economic threat known as commoditization. This is rooted in the old traditional commodity and goods-based economy. See, in a market full of commodities, materials are essentially fungible. One vendor's grain or fruit is pretty much the same as another's. And when products lose that differentiation, what happens? The customer's focus shifts entirely to price. It becomes this massive race to the bottom, squeezing profit margins and totally stifling innovation. But with technology and competition constantly ramping up, businesses realized that competing on price alone is just a losing game. They needed a new source of value for consumers who now have the affluence and the desire to prioritize meaningful interactions over just accumulating more stuff.
Moving right along to Section 2, the 4 economic offerings, tracking the progression of economic value.
Let's walk through this progression step by step, keeping our coffee analogy going because it really hits the nail on the head. Step 1 is commodities. These are fungible, undifferentiated materials. Think of harvesting raw coffee beans from the earth. Step 2 brings us to goods. These are tangible products manufactured from those commodities. This is when the beans are roasted, packaged, and sitting on a grocery store shelf. Step 3 is services. Intangible, personalized activities. Now a diner is actually brewing that packaged coffee and pouring it into a mug for you. But finally, Step 4 is experiences. These are memorable, engaging events. This is walking into that artisanal coffee shop where a barista performs a mesmerizing brewing ritual, tells you the origin story of the blend, and serves it to you in a beautifully designed space. The offering has literally climbed the ladder of value.
And this brings us to a huge realization. An experience is a completely distinct economic offering. Historically, economists and business folks just lumped experiences into the service sector. But pioneers like Walt Disney proved that they absolutely demand recognition as their own unique category. Disney didn't just provide the service of a mechanical ride, right? He integrated rich storytelling and deeply immersive environments to create something entirely new. When you stage an experience, you aren't just performing a task. You're turning a simple transaction into an unforgettable event that actually engages a person's senses and emotions.
Which leads us to Section 3, the 4 experience realms, crafting the perfect engagement.
Now, Pine and Gilmore break experiences down into 4 distinct realms based on how we, the customers, actually engage with them. First up, we have entertainment. This is a passive experience, like kicking back to watch a performance or movie. You absorb it, but you don't alter it. Second is education. This one requires active participation. You have to engage your mind or body to actually gain knowledge or skills. Third is escape. This is also active, but highly immersive. Think of a theme park, a flight simulator, or an escape room where you are physically participating in the environment. And fourth is aesthetic. This is passive, but still immersive. You're in the environment, reveling in its beauty, but you aren't significantly altering it, like standing inside a stunning art gallery or looking out over the edge of the Grand Canyon.
But here's where the magic happens. The authors give us this golden rule. The richest experiences seamlessly blend elements from all 4 realms, creating engaging atmospheres that draw people in. You shouldn't just pick one lane. If you want to create a truly compelling economic offering, you need to blur the lines. You want your customer to be entertained, educated, transported to another place, and surrounded by a beautiful aesthetic, all at the exact same time.
Let's look at how this plays out in the real world with a couple of fantastic examples from the text.
Club Disney, for instance, merges entertainment, education, escape, and aesthetic experiences specifically tailored for families. They ensure every single detail contributes to an environment that practically guarantees return visits. Another wild example is the LAN Arena. You might think a local area network gaming center is just about providing the service of internet access, but it's actually this absolutely electrifying community. Players are strategizing with friends and getting swept up in thrilling, high-stakes competition. It isn't just about the gameplay, it's the shared rush, the camaraderie, and the environment that elevates the whole thing into a vibrant tapestry of all four realms. They take an ordinary space and transform it into a highly distinct place.
All right, final stop. Section 4, customization and customer sacrifice, moving beyond one size fits all.
We really need to draw a sharp line here. A lot of companies obsess over customer satisfaction. But let's be real, those metrics often just measure surface-level perceptions of past performance. They're basically asking, did we do okay based on what we offered? Customer customization, on the other hand, is forward-looking. It seeks to identify the true desires of individuals to provide exactly what each person wants. If you rely on an impersonal, one-size-fits-all approach, you are inadvertently commoditizing your business. You're making your customers question why they should bother paying a premium.
And that brings us to this mind-blowing concept called customer sacrifice. This is literally the gap between what a customer actually desires and what they're forced to settle for, just because the business didn't customize the offering. When companies overwhelm us with extensive generic options without ever addressing our deeper needs, we're making a sacrifice. The text points to Progressive Insurance as a company that totally gets this. They personalize their claims process to meet individual needs directly. By doing that, they reduce customer sacrifice and generate true, unique value.
So how do you actually put all this together? How do you stage the show for your customers? Here are the actionable takeaways straight from the authors. First, develop engaging narratives or theming that alter how people perceive reality. Second, use those themes to boldly express your identity and your values. Building on that, integrate all 5 senses, align sensory cues with your theme, and relentlessly strip away visual or auditory distractions. Next, provide physical memorabilia to extend the impact of the memory long after the event is over. Also, rethink traditional promotions. Things like rebates just lead right back to commoditization. Instead, design memorable surprises that build genuine loyalty. And finally, the ultimate shift in the economic model. Charge for the experience itself, because if your experience is compelling enough, customers will gladly pay for the access.
As we wrap up this explainer, I've got a question I want you to chew on. Look at your own work, your business, or even the places where you choose to spend your hard-earned money. Are you merely delivering a service, or are you truly staging an experience? In a world where goods and services are increasingly abundant and commoditized, the ones who master the art of staging memorable, multi-sensory, and customized experiences are absolutely the ones who are going to thrive. Thanks so much for exploring the experience economy with me today.